Hey everybody, Tony D with a Screenwriter's Take. I know it's been a while on a movie that was probably one of the best written screenplays I've seen in a while. And you're going to think I'm nuts when I tell you the title, but it was really well written. It was tight. It took a very stupid and silly concept and absolutely squeezed every ounce of comedy and horror they could. And that being said, I'm going to tell you the name now, and you'll think I'm insane, but it was called Zombeavers. And it's exactly what it was advertised to do. Zombeavers is about zombie beavers and an attack on a group of teenagers, college-age kids who are up in a cabin for a weekend. And slowly but surely, people turn into get killed by the Zombeavers. Special cameo by Bill Maher in a very funny turn. Kind of his usual stint, but they really use him in a perfect way. It's really hard to talk about this movie without giving it away, but it did have a really tight screenplay. The first thing that's great about it is, it starts out with these three college girls in the first act. They go away to a cabin to get away because one of the girls has broken up with her boyfriend or caught him cheating. She thinks he's been cheating on her. And so they decide to have a all-girls weekend up at this cabin. And the three girls are pretty distinct. Let's see, there's Jen, who's the girl who's gotten her heart broken. Then there's Zoe, who's kind of this foul-mouthed, I would say she's sort of a city girl who doesn't really have manners. And then I forget the name of the third girl with glasses, who's sort of organizing the whole thing. And the great thing about it is they have three very distinct personalities. All the characters do. And so the whole first act is a lot of setup, but it's very organic. Like the setup doesn't feel rushed. But it also doesn't feel like I'm bored. Like I'm learning things with every line of dialogue. There's no fat here. There's absolutely no fat. Everything's established in this first act. And the premise of why the beavers turned into zombies is established in the first, opening credit scene, which is exactly how you should do it, right? Don't mess around. Look, you might have some clever new way to create zombies. Okay, if it's super clever, maybe. But if it's not super clever, if it's not the focus of your movie, and it probably isn't if you're doing a zombie movie, then just get on with it. Get on with the damn movie. And that's exactly what this movie does. It establishes in the credit sequence why the beavers become zombies, and then just goes. So the three girls, first off, the three girls are very hot, nice casting. One of them goes topless, also nice casting. And then, so the first act, they just basically, you don't even really see the zombie beavers. I don't think you see the zombie beavers until the second act. And you don't feel like the movie sucks. You're introduced to all the characters. All the characters are important. There's no extra character who's this guy and then you never see him again. They're all important. They all come back. Second act. The zombie beavers make their appearance. Well, first the boys show up and to sort of ruin the all girls thing. And then the zombies show up at the end of the first act. Like one of them does. They encounter it. They think it's just a beaver with rabies or something. And they essentially kill it. And then the next day, for some reason, they decide, well, let's go swimming now. Because they don't really see the danger and they don't really believe it. And you might say, well, why would they go swimming? Well, not all of them do. The one girl is extremely reluctant to go in, but the others are insistent that, and because they're young and because of the way they play it, it's believable. It's believable that you could see these guys because the guys are just horny as hell. They're there to get laid. They want to get laid more, and then they go, let's go swimming. Like, they just don't care. They just don't care. They all act like college kids do. They think they're indestructible. So in the second act, the Beavers show up for real, and the kids have to escape them, which they do, kind of, sort of, temporarily. Then they get back to the cabin, and then it's all about the escape in the second act. Then in the third act, it's about survival, okay? And I don't want to go in too much to it, because to give away the spoiler is to give any spoilers is to spoil the movie utterly. Because each scene has a new reveal. There's a deal with the interplay between the characters and their history, which comes into play, again, extremely organically. One of the guys, the movie's written by John and Al Kaplan, and the director, Jordan Rubin, also wrote it too. Jordan, I looked him up on the IMDb. He's a stand-up comic, or was, and has directed other things like this, crazy, funny monster movies. So I think he really has a good sense of the timing. He doesn't waste any time. This movie is only an hour and 17 minutes, and that's probably exactly where it needs to be. Exactly where it needs to be. And I could pick apart little things from a pragmatic sense that you'd go, yeah, that doesn't really work or whatever. But in terms of the pacing and the movie itself and what you're going to get out of it, it delivers, right? It delivers on the zombies, it delivers on scares, it delivers on laughs, and every single character plays at the height of their intelligence. None of the characters ever do anything wantonly stupid, which to me is really important. It's really hard to find a movie like that. It's really hard to find a movie, especially a low-budget zombie movie, which is essentially is what this is, where the characters don't just, have a scene in which, like, it feels like, why are you guys just sitting there? Why aren't you doing something? The characters are doing something with their time in almost every scene. There's never a scene where one of the actors is just sitting around, like, waiting for something to happen. Even when the characters are sort of trapped in their cabin, they're looking up beavers to find out, is there any information here that could help us survive? And they basically tell you all kinds of information about beavers during the course of the movie, which is good too, because it plays into what the beavers do and their strategy. Now, the beaver puppets, they don't look that great. But it's okay, because it's supposed to be a tongue-in-cheek comedy movie / horror movie. So on the one hand, it's kind of a horror movie. On the other hand, it's kind of a comedy movie. So, if you could look past that, and I did, obviously. They didn't spend $100 million on the beaver CGI. They used puppets. Clearly, these are puppets. But they were okay. They were okay for what they were. And the characters are very consistent in their deal. Like, the boys are horny. They're there to have sex with the girls. They don't want to leave them alone for the weekend. They get into trouble that way. There are gross out scenes that are in the movie. It's paced well so that the movie kicks up every act, right? So the first act is relatively normal, but the beavers are coming, and then maybe you get a taste of it right at the end. Then the second act, you get the beavers, and then the third act, you get something else, which I won't give away, which totally makes sense. Like, they don't have to explain it. They don't really set it up. It just makes sense within the confines of the movie. And so there's a physics to this universe, which I was very impressed with. And that physics is consistent, and I appreciated that. Now, you might watch it and go, this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I'm sure you would. It is dumb. It's Zombeavers. But it is consistent. You'd be hard-pressed to find something inconsistent within that little mini universe. And that's what I really appreciated about it. It also was kind of funny and ridiculous and kind of scary, mildly. There's one scene, which, again, I won't give it away, which was a little sad, and I felt bad about. But, then there's a blooper reel after credits, so stay for that. And the movie ends well. I like the ending a lot. And again, I can't really explain it without giving it away. And I'm not going to do a spoiler review on this one either because, to spoil it, if you watch that, you're screwed. It's pointless to watch the movie. It's only an hour and 17 minutes. That is probably too short for a movie, and an hour 17 for a theatrical release. But it was perfectly serviceable for something that I found on Amazon Prime, and I had heard about. I had heard about this movie. And that seemed the perfect length for it. To go another, I guess you would have had to gone another 18 minutes. Would have made the movie less tight. And I'm not sure what other scenes you could have added, to pad that 18 minutes. The 18 minutes probably would have ruined the pacing. Quite frankly, you would have had, to have come up with some way why the relentless beavers, and they are relentless in this cut of the movie, suddenly just decide, well, we're not gonna attack them right now. It spares no one in the sense that, no character is sacred. None of the tropes are sacred. And, it doesn't show you anything that you don't need to see. It doesn't have to go over things or re-explain things. And I really appreciated that too. There's a couple of characters who, what happens to them when they cut away. They kind of set up something bad's happening to them. And then the moment you see it, you're like, uh-oh. And then boom, it cuts away. And by the time you get back to these characters, you know what the deal's gonna be. And so bravo, man. Bravo to Jordan, the director, for making this movie so watchable, at least for me. A stupid concept, a very simple concept, a crazy, concept that you can find in comedy horror, but one that, man, these guys took it to its absolute limit. And I wouldn't do anything after this, although it said there was a Zombeaver TV show. I don't know why they would bother, quite frankly. Seems to be you squeezed out of it all you're going to get. But, I guess you could do more. But man, beautiful cast, funny effects, crazy puppets, boobies, monsters, comedy. Some of the sarcasm got a little much after a while, the typical sarcastic lines you're going to get when people are trapped in a cabin and oh yeah, what do you expect me to do? Kind of thing. That went on. That was almost a little too much, but I'm really nitpicking. Other than that, the screenplay was tight. So I would recommend screenwriters watch this movie simply because it's a tight screenplay and you can learn from that. Now, again, the concept is crazy. It's crazy and stupid, but look at how these guys take every bit of info they possibly could get out of this and put it in the movie. And look how they reveal things. Look at what they don't show you, would be my advice. I think for young screenwriters, this is a screenplay you could learn from because it is a simple concept and it is so tight. So that's my take. I know. Zombeavers on Prime. Amazon Prime. Watch it.